What if we watch the movie right now, but we didn't have any context? So we're like, what's going on? And then we go back and we're like, oh.
Why is Kageyama missing an eye?
They're playing in a blasted wasteland hellscape? A post-apocalyptic
Hinata's
nuclear
half
wasteland?
robot?
They're using magic? What happened? Glad to see Suga's still there. And he looks exactly the same. That's Suga's clone?
And welcome back to Nostalgia Club, the podcast where we three sound designers take a break from work and talk about media and books that we really enjoyed as kids, that we have a lot of nostalgia for, and we return to them as a form of escapism and talk about why we love it so much. Sometimes it's like stuff that we read as kids and we're like, does it still hold up? And sometimes it's stuff like today's show, which is nostalgic, but also not nostalgic because I still like it a lot.
It's still going, isn't it?
It's still going, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, it's still going.
But didn't they like...
The manga ended, but...
Well, they're not making any more
they're making
seasons,
one more,
but they're making a movie.
They're making more movies, yes.
Which is apparently very controversial, from what I know.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm
and
Victoria.
What is the name of it?
I'm Victoria.
And we're never gonna say the name. You gotta guess.
You'll never know who we are unless you listen to every other episode of this podcast.
Okay, fine. Today we're talking about Haikyuu.
Yay!
I'm very excited. My name's Victoria. I'm joined by...
Michael.
And Jino.
And if you're one of my friends who listens to Nostalgia Club just because you think we're funny, maybe don't listen to this one because I'm probably going to be really unhinged and you don't need
What
to
kind of
that.
warning is that? If you like to listen to this podcast, you may not want to listen to this one because it's going to be great.
No, this is for real Haikyuu fans only. Just kidding. No, you can listen to it even if you haven't watched Haikyuu, but it might be a little confusing because we did watch all season 1. Thanks, Jino and Michael, once again for consuming an entire season.
Oh, what a tough job you've given me. Watching one season of anime. Oh, my bones are aching. My muscles are screaming from the effort it took to watch one season of anime. An incredibly arduous and unenjoyable task.
I mean, there's like 24, 25 episodes. It's a lot of content.
It's good content.
Yeah,
though.
but it's good stuff.
Spoiler alert,
Good
it's good
soup.
content.
Good soup. Yeah, I really like this show. I'm still deep in the paint of this show, and I'm excited to talk about it. Jino and Michael have never watched it. Jino, you've never watched any sports anime.
No, this was the second season of anime I've ever watched.
Oh.
The first being
one?
Dungeon
Naruto?
Meshi.
Oh,
Woo!
Dungeon Meshi.
We didn't
You don't
watch a
count
full
Naruto.
season
Yeah,
of Naruto.
Yeah, that's true. What about you, Michael? Have you watched any sports anime?
Sports anime? Does I'm like trying to think of a comedically not sports anime and ask if it counts, but
Dungeon Meshi.
as far as I remember, I haven't watched any sports anime. You know what? I've watched science fiction sports anime of people that pilot like mech race cars in the future.
Okay.
I forget the name of it, but not actual sports anime.
I think sports anime is like specifically a genre of like high school athletic clubs, and it's about like the character's journey to improving their skills as a player or like beating a tournament or like something like that. So Haikyuu has 2 main protagonists. There's Hinata Shoyo and there's Kageyama Tobio, and they are obsessed with volleyball, like to the max.
Perhaps to a concerning level.
Yeah, honestly.
And they each have their tragic backstories, but they both end up going to Krasno High School and joining the volleyball club there. And it's about their team and their journey to hopefully getting to nationals, which is like they get to go to Tokyo to play against like all these like really elite teams in the country. They're in kind of like a smaller like country prefecture. So like that's kind of all they've known for now. But like their main motivation is I want to play volleyball for as long as physically possible.
It's a little culty. at some points. Just in the way it's told, where you're suddenly getting like voiceovers from multiple characters in the same moment going, I want to stay on the court. I want to stay on the court. Or
That's
like
true.
the way they know certain phrases where it's like the view from over the net, the view from over the net.
Yeah.
I think
A tall
yeah.
wall looms in front
I mean,
of me.
in general, like a lot of anime is known for like its over exaggeration of character moments and emotions, but sports anime in general is like, I guess it feels even more because it's like, dude, all you're doing is playing a sport.
It's pretty hype,
But
though. It's pretty good.
pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Okay. Where were you on the night of?
So let's just get into general impressions. So like before watching the show and after watching the show, I know like Jino, like you have friends who are big Haikyuu fans. So like what were your
Huge.
perceptions of the show before you watched it yourself? And how do you feel about it now?
Perceptions of the show before. Loud. Whoa, they really like this sport. A lot of shipping. Lot of shipping. Mostly shipping, I think was my perception before.
Okay. Michael, did you have any preconceived notions of Haikyuu?
Shipping.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we've said that one yet.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think it's come up. Yeah.
Lots of shipping. It was a combination of that and, you know, like the meme of like, what's your Roman Empire? Like, what do you like?
Haikyuu is my Roman Empire.
Yeah, I was getting the vibe, even before that meme was a thing, that like this was probably a show that through a combination of the character dynamics and all the shipping and however it handled the sports side of it, a lot of people were probably fully taken with it and fully taken with like the team dynamics and the sport element as their Roman Empire. And yeah, I was like, I'm sure this is pretty compelling, but I don't know if I'll be able to access the enthusiasm over the shipping side because it's been a long time since I've gotten very like into ships in anime.
That's fair. But it's one of those shows where like even before watching a single episode, and I have not read the manga, but even just walking around in the public, you can see people, like you see Haikyuu references, just like kind of floating around. Kind of like how you see Naruto references.
Yeah.
It's just popular enough to sort of be ambiguously spread through popular culture and fandom, even in America. And then we watched it.
And then we watched it.
And how do you feel now?
I'll admit, the first few episodes were a little rough. I mean, like any sort of big property, this with extensive, complicated character storylines and like not only are you trying to teach the audience what volleyball is and like the rules of volleyball, but you're also trying to introduce like a very large number of characters and like make them compelling. And so getting all that information out while also like creating an initial character conflict setup is going to be rough. And so the first few episodes are a little rough, but as soon as everyone starts to like each other and then they start playing volleyball.
Yeah. As soon as the teamwork element comes in.
Yeah. And then you're like, yeah, they're playing volleyball. They're going to spike it and then bump it and nice kill. I don't know. They say that a lot. I still don't quite understand how to play volleyball.
Chance
but when I'm
ball.
watching, I feel like I understand how to play volleyball.
That's the important thing.
Even if someone asked me right now what the rules are, I could not tell you.
Even to this day, I don't quite understand. Like, I still don't really fully understand the rules with, like, the libero and, like, how, like, the player can, like, come in and out of the court at certain times. But it's fine, because the liberos are always the coolest characters.
I do love Karasuno's libero for no other reason than vibes. I don't know, something about him. And also that cool jersey, that cool all-orange jersey.
Yeah, the libero gets to wear, like, basically, like, the reverse colors of the jersey. So if all the players are wearing, for Karasuno, their colors are black and orange. So if all the players are wearing a primarily black uniform, then the libero will wear orange because it's easier for the ref to spot, really. And then if the players are wearing orange, then the libero will wear black.
It's cool.
It's really cool.
They're cool jerseys. I've seen them around, just like walking the streets.
I'd say my experience was basically the same as Gino's in terms of like, this is a rocky start. I'm hanging in there.
Like they're really into volleyball.
Really.
Wow, they're really into volleyball. Oh, now I'm really into volleyball. That's sort of like the journey you can expect from the first season of Haikyuu.
Yeah.
And then at the end, during the season finale, they're really into volleyball sort of creeps back in again. Like you're sort of with it, and then, spoiler alert, they lose a big game and they're knocked out of a tournament. and their reactions vary from like, yeah, that's how I would react to, whoa, are you okay? Do you need to sit down and talk to someone?
I kind of spoiled that moment that I think you might be referring to.
You spoiled it for me, but I truly could not be prepared
Yeah.
for how upset and how much time is dedicated to Hinata and Kageyama running around and screaming and throwing themselves bodily against the walls and floors for literally minutes.
Yeah, for me, like, I was already sort of like taken aback at how single-minded Hinata could be, to the point where sometimes he wouldn't understand when, like, wait, we've lost? I can't play volleyball anymore? But it really landed when he really pops off in that last episode and he jumps up and grabs like the handrails of a second-story balcony and like screams into the sky.
Especially since so much of that episode is the other characters going, oh man, we have another chance to play volleyball. Will we do it? Will we go to the second chance to play volleyball?
And it's a really
Hinata's
fascinating
like, I'll never play volleyball. I'm going to die.
But that other side of it is really fascinating. This whole idea of like, hey, you're a bunch of high schoolers from a very rural prefecture. One of you isn't even planning on going to college. Like, you should think about what you're doing next instead of just playing volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially since you can sort of see the outcome of being super into volleyball in high school, but then not pursuing it professionally in some of the other tertiary characters who have become that. Now they work locally, like in supermarkets and whatnot, and they just play volleyball recreationally. And you're like, oh, they could become that.
Yeah.
And like, they're not unhappy. It's not a bad thing to be.
They kind of realize it too. Like some of that stakes of like wanting to stay on the court for like the third years who are about to like graduate. You can feel like for them, they sort of realize like after this, I'm probably just doing this like on the weekends.
Yeah.
With my buddies and the locals. I want to be in this environment as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that really lands. To sort of maybe salvage my indictment of Kageyama and Hinata, in the first episode, I did really like how they were portrayed, how I should say the show portrayed them. Like my first feeling, it took like approximately a third or half of the season to get that lock-in when they started like playing as a team. But my first instance of like, okay, was in the first episode when in junior high, Hinata rounds up his buds who have no idea how to play volleyball, who support him just so he can play in a tournament, and goes against Kageyama, the god, the king of the court. I was getting the feeling of like, okay, this is going to be a nuanced approach to discussing like sports and engagement in sports and teamwork when it portrays Hinata, who's got a lot of natural athletic ability, but absolutely no like clear discipline and like.
He also has a lack of training. Like he went to a middle school that didn't have a really proper team. Yeah. He just wanted to play volleyball, so he convinced some of his friends, some of who were not athletes whatsoever, some of whom I think were like on the basketball team, and he was like, please, like I just really want to like play on a team. And they're like, okay, man, like we don't really know that much about volleyball, but like you love it, so like we'll like do it for you. But without a proper coach, without proper like resources, he has no chance of like improving his own skills, especially like I think because he's like quote unquote like the best player on the team, right? Being the only one who actually like knows and like wants to play volleyball. And so there's also no one to like challenge him, which he quickly realizes how short he falls.
No pun intended.
When he plays Kageyama's team. Kageyama went to Kisagawa Daiichi, which is like a much more elite school known for their volleyball team, and a lot of their middle schoolers get funneled into other more elite volleyball schools. And so it's like a pipeline of like, if you want to play volleyball, like this is like a middle school that you go to. But he has kind of the opposite problem where he's too good at volleyball. He's like considered like a genius. He's a setter. So he's like kind of like the tactical one of the team. But his main problem is like teamwork, because he's like, I'm so good. Everyone else needs to match me like perfectly. And so he has a lot of conflicts with his teammates, and they're straight up like, honestly, I'm not going to like receive your sets anymore because you're kind of a jerk. And I don't like how much you yell at me when I like miss a spike or whatever.
It's honestly a fascinating choice for like episode 1, what is going to be for this sports manga and or anime our premiere example of a volleyball match. And it's like one team gets utterly crushed.
Yeah.
Because none of them are volleyball players, really, except for this one guy who gets one spike down.
Yeah.
And the other team is excellent because there's this one egomaniacal guy. And, you know, they're all good players. But it's like, it's a really fascinating choice that sets up that, like, this is going to be about an exploration of volleyball as a sport centered on teamwork and, like, the development of, like, the personalities of these people and, like, the growth of their character and their skill.
Yeah.
And so that was, like, my first instance of, like, oh, this is kind of intriguing. And also, there's that one absolutely unhinged shot of Hinata going to spike the ball where I think the whole idea is that his like clothes are billowing because he's moving so fast.
Yeah.
But he just looks caked beyond belief. And I'm like, whoa, what?
Yeah. So Hinata's like one advantage is that he can jump really high and he's really fast. So although he's not as tall as other volleyball players usually are, a lot of people look down on him for being short. He makes up for that in like the height that he can jump to. Even Kageyama on his first meeting with Hinata like recognizes like, okay, there's something about this guy. I think like Kageyama like says like, you have so much potential, but what have you been doing? And he like doesn't even think about like, oh, like you probably didn't have as many resources as I did. Very interesting protagonist setups.
When you started watching Haikyuu, Victoria, was it sort of in a vacuum or were you compelled by others?
It was probably recommended to me by someone. I don't remember how I got into Haikyuu, I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
This is another one of those, like, I started watching it in high school, but I don't remember why or how.
Do you remember how quickly you latched onto it, though?
Pretty fast. I got into it in high school. At that time, there were only 2 seasons of the anime that were out. And then when I was in college, that was when the 3rd season was coming out. So I watched the 3rd season as it was being released. Like every week, I would like get together with my friends and we'd like watch Haikyuu. And I think at that time, I also hadn't read the manga yet. So it was truly like every episode was like, what's going to happen? Like, who's going to win? Like, how is this going to play out? Because I think the beauty of Haikyuu is like, even though like Karasuno, they're the main characters, you don't expect them to win.
Yeah.
Because that's really not the point of the story. It's not about like, this is a team that like makes it to the top because they're the protagonists. It's about their journey of why they play volleyball and why it's important to them. And then I watched season 4 while it was coming out. And then I think I did start reading the manga around in between like seasons 3 and 4, I think. And then I read the manga all the way until the end, which I think it ended around 2020.
Oh, wow.
So I also have like certain like end of Haikyuu memories tied with like lockdown.
Oh, wow.
That's trippy.
Yeah, I think for me, like the reason why I love Haikyuu so much is it just makes me feel like I can do anything.
But you can.
Yeah, but like, you know, sometimes you're like down on yourself and then you're like, but then you watch Haikyuu and you're like, you know what? I can do anything. I can work really hard at something and like I might fail at it, but like it's not about whether I like win or lose. It's about like, what did I learn? How did I improve? How did I become like a better person at this thing or whatever? It just makes me happy. Also, the soundtrack is so good.
Soundtrack's good.
I listen to the soundtrack a lot, specifically the season 3 soundtrack. I think season 3 is one of my favorite seasons. So I listen to that a lot when I'm writing or again, it's very motivational. So if I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do something, then I'm like, Haikyuu will solve this.
Yeah. And the animation too. I do not envy those animators.
Yeah.
Because this isn't just like a fantasy sword fight where they're flickering around at the speed of light or whatever. Like, no, these are like full, like actual human body movements that I imagine they must have had so much reference material.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just over and over and over again, spiking and setting and all these like, you know, authentic volleyball moves that like if a real volleyball player looks at it and notices that it's weird, like they're going to see it.
A lot of pro volleyball players are like big fans of Haikyuu too. So that's always like really fun.
Yeah.
I can only imagine like how cool it'd be to be like, oh, they made a show about like the thing that I do and it's like really good.
Yeah. And sometimes you see like reused shots or like flipped angles, but like rarely. Only a couple times did I really catch them reusing a shot. So they're drawing probably like hundreds of spikes at various angles or hundreds of blocks or whatever.
Yeah.
For lots of different characters.
Lots
Yeah,
and lots
yeah,
of different
yeah.
characters. And I also really appreciate how, even though Karasuno are the protagonists, I have a cheat sheet with all the characters written down because there's seriously so many characters. Oh man, but I don't have this. The team in the tournament that they play before Date.
Oh, you mean like the basically no-name team?
Yeah,
Oh,
that they just like
Daichi's old classmate. Yeah.
They just like smash into the ground.
Yeah.
They just destroy them. I really like how for an episode we flip perspectives.
Yeah.
And we get their passion to play, their desperation to win, and how like they're fighting a losing battle and how they have to keep like morality up.
Mm-hmm.
And how suddenly Karasuno are like the antagonists. And they're just like this like terrifying, scary, like intimidating presence. And we do that often in this show. And I really, really like that.
I just think it's like so incredible that in this show, when you're like, okay, like I want to root for Karasuno because they're the main characters, but you end up like falling in love with so many characters and you just want everyone to win. You're like, I just want everyone to like have a good time and like no one loses, okay? Like, like at one point, like most recently, there's a movie that was basically like a fight between two of the most beloved teams in the Haikyuu fandom.
Oh.
And everyone, because I read the manga for that, and I was just like, I don't know who I want to win. Not only just from like a storytelling standpoint of like, okay, well, if like this team wins, then like that makes sense like plot wise this way, but also like emotionally wise, it makes sense because of this. But then I was also like, but the other team winning is also good for other reasons.
Are these like two teams not Karasuno?
I'm trying not to spoil anything for Jino and Michael because I want them to keep watching.
Okay.
You have to discover it for yourself.
I am on season 2.
Yeah, we already got one.
Yachi is life.
Yachi is the best.
The point I'm trying to say is that like you said, it's such an excellent job of humanizing everyone.
Yeah.
Except Oikawa?
Oh my God.
Man, they try. I don't like him.
Oikawa was fascinating to me because when we first meet him, we get the sense that he's cocky and he has like a little fan club.
Yeah.
But we get two kind of like indictments of his personality where from like one person on Karasuno who's like, yeah, that's the setter for this team. He's really good. He has a horrible personality. And that's like the two things we get. But he's acting very agreeable. And you can tell that it's kind of a veneer.
Yeah.
But he's not like super like tyrannical with his teammates. They kind of poke fun at him a lot and he kind of like laughs it off. And his like best friend on the team, presumably, will treat him very harshly and give him like no room for messing about. And I'm like, this is a weird dynamic.
Yeah.
I like his character a lot and I like his dynamic and I understand, like they do a really good job of explaining how he got here and like why he's like this, but there's just something about his face.
Yeah, no, it's valid because in his backstory, we see that he was kind of a really spiteful dude.
Yeah.
He almost like punches Kageyama.
Yeah. His whole thing is that he feels really threatened by Kageyama as like this like genius kid who like shows up on the team. I mean, they talk about like the dynamics of like, oh, I'm older than this kid and this person could potentially like take away like my regular spot on the team. Kageyama like really looks up to Oikawa when he's in middle school and Oikawa like doesn't want to help him whatsoever. Like Kageyama's just there like, hey, like I really like you're really great at your service, Ace. Can you teach me how to do it? And Oikawa's like, no, get away, kid. Like I hate you.
You can see how one character's development influenced another character's development really, really clearly.
Yeah.
And it's really well done.
I think his whole storyline is like, I think it's really, I can't.
Is this spoilers?
It's kind of spoilery, but like his journey is like, well, I think it's just interesting that in season 1, seasons 1 and 2, he's basically like top villain number 1, you know, like the big bad. But he's not the greatest villain that they face in the tournaments.
Well, we've already gotten a taste of...
Yeah, like Karasuno, like in season 1, they play against Alba Josai, which is Oikawa's team, and they lose. And for them, they're like, their team is so good. But then like Alba Josai gets defeated by Shiratorizawa, like pretty like easily.
Handily, yeah.
Yeah. And so Oikawa is like such an interesting character because he's not a genius. He's not like super naturally gifted. He just like works so hard. His like really iconic serves, the reason why he gets it perfect every time is because he's done it like thousands of times. And it's just like muscle memory for him now.
And he still messes one up in
Yeah.
the game.
It's such like an interesting cast of characters of like, okay, like there's some who are like clearly very naturally gifted, but because of like resources and like their upbringings, maybe like they couldn't reach their full potential. And there's some others who are like, I'm like tall and I'm like good at this, but maybe I don't like care about as much. But every character like has like a unique relationship with volleyball and like reasons why they like it. I don't know what is this making sense?
Yeah.
No, it's making
Okay,
sense.
cool.
Well, it comes back to, I think what spurred this line of conversation was when you talked about, well, when you both talked about the first tournament match they have and how they just absolutely demolished the other team.
Yeah.
And I wrote down a note because it hit me so bad. I was like, wild that the first tournament match is a landslide victory, but the episode still gets you thinking about loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that
It's kind
episode.
of a foreshadowing
also.
for how like that
Yeah.
season ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, it shows like how like Krasno views their opponents, even though they're like 10 points ahead of this other team. Another team would be like, this is nothing. We got this, right? And maybe they don't try as hard anymore. But Krasno, like they still like put their all into it. And that actually like hypes the other team up because they're like, wait, we're being taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like if we were like being ground into the dust and they were like towering over us, like, haha, you suck, that would make our morale like even lower. But because they see us as real opponents, that makes us want to like play even better.
Yeah. And it kind of like does have that effect where for a glimmering moment, the other team doesn't get a few good shots.
Yeah.
First favorite line of the season was when they were slowly building the team back up and they talked about their ace, Asahi, not being on the team. And it's like, well, why is he not? And Suga, who's one of the older classmen, talking to Hinata and Kageyama, is like, I think Asahi doesn't like volleyball anymore. And I was like, the veneer like snapped, and I was like, oh, these are high schoolers. Like, oh, maybe he just doesn't like volleyball anymore. I mean, of course, it's more complicated than that. He feels like he let his team down in a prior match, blah, 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 blah. But I was like, oh, the way that line delivery was like, oh yeah, these are just kids.
Sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, they are like 14 to like 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
But I really appreciated, and I don't know if this is like a universal experience. Victoria, you were telling us a bit about how the change from structuring it like a TV show to movies has allowed it to be more efficient in portrayals of certain arcs, like if an arc is just a single like volleyball match.
Yeah. I'm like very conflicted about the like movie versus TV show route because I watched the latest movie and it was like one of the first actual like full arcs that they animated just as a movie, I'm pretty sure. And like it was really good. I understood why they did it because it's mainly just this one game and it allows you to get the full scope of the game very cohesively in one single storyline. But at the same time, like there were a lot of moments, like really great moments for other characters that unfortunately got cut because maybe it like deviated from like the main storyline a bit too much. They definitely picked like one main character to kind of focus that movie on. And it made sense. Like that was 100% like his movie. And it was like very satisfying that way. But even like some of the like other layers of like backstory were like omitted. And so I'm sure if you hadn't read the manga, you would have still understood everything because some of it is like built up in other seasons. One thing I think is really impressive is how detailed the plants and payoffs are in this season. There is a moment that is planted in season 1 that pays off in this most recent movie, which is like 4.5 seasons later.
Wow.
Which is just crazy. But like, I get it. I'm slightly worried about the next movie because they've said it's like the final movie, but I'm like, there's still so much left. Like, I can't possibly think of how you could fit all of that into one movie and do it justice.
And there's the controversy, I think.
Yeah.
People are upset that they're cutting so much, or they could cut so much.
I was like, give us 2 movies at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like Haikyuu is so popular. It's like, you're gonna make money if you make us like 2 movies instead of
It's
1.
true.
But I don't know. I also like in between seasons 3 and 4, they switched to like a new animation studio or a new team.
I've heard
and
about
a lot
that,
of people didn't like that the animation style changed.
Huh.
I haven't gone back to rewatch season 4. And I think like for me, because when I watched it, like I had been so distant from like the 3rd season for a bit. Like I didn't notice like the stark contrast from one season to the next. I'm currently rewatching the series, so even between seasons 1 and 2, I was like, whoa, they really upped their budget. They're
I
like,
did notice that.
this show is good. And they were like everything is so much more like saturated and detailed. I was like, whoa. But then I'm sure that when I watch seasons 3 and 4 back to back, that I will notice more the difference. But I don't know. For me, I'm like, we got more Haikyuu animated, so I'm not complaining.
Is there a consensus, like, which is I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of debate, but is there a general consensus of what most Haikyuu fans regard as like the best arc or season of the show?
I don't know if I've like ever, there's never been like a poll or something. I definitely think the most recent movie, again, like because it's 2 teams that everyone is like huge fans of, like, and a lot of the seasons have been building up to it, that one is a lot of people's favorite arcs. There's also definitely an arc at the end that is everyone's favorite for specific reasons. And then I imagine like season 2 and 3 are just generally popular just because vibes, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go out on a limb and say that for my first viewing here of season 1, I thought the structure was so impressive in terms of how it introduces you to different characters, even though there are a lot of them, and how it introduces you to the rules of volleyball and the different positions on the team.
Yeah.
How it crafts convincing reasons for why when Hinata and Kageyama first get to high school, we're not introduced to the ace on the team or the libero or a number of other characters. And the reasons for this are because, oh, well, the libero is suspended. Oh, the ace is not on the team anymore for backstory reasons that then segue into character and plot developments for that season. And it's very, very well executed as an onboarding process for a new viewer.
Yeah.
Which is wild because, I mean, y'all just got done talking about something that hadn't even occurred to me until you said it, which is like, I don't know how the game is actually played, but I feel like I do.
Yeah. No, it's just, yeah.
That's the important thing.
Although, to be honest, I didn't understand how the scoreboard worked until episode 14. They would cut to the scoreboard and I'd be like, okay, that says 14 and that says 0205. And then someone would be like, we're winning. And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, structure, incredible. Personally, I felt the pacing super weird. I would be watching an episode and I would be like, I'm getting the vibe that we're nearing the end. And then it would cut to like the mid-roll for the episode. And I'm like, oh, we're way far from the end. And then I'd be like, oh, we're about to jump into a development for this episode that just began. Oh, it's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So personally, I'm interested to see what happens when it gets to a movie. Like how that goes. Honestly, I should probably reserve too much judgment until I see the rest of like season 2 and see how it's changed because I'm enjoying it.
Yay!
Other favorite line was when Kageyama gets one over on, I think, might have been Date Tech. And then someone says, that was a rather bold dump.
God
damn. And a dump is a move. It's where you just pop the ball over the net, not even spiking it. You just go whoop, I guess.
I do remember them saying that, and I went, I do remember that, but I was too in it. I wasn't gonna question it. I was gonna stop the roll. It was good. It was satisfying.
It's a lot of good lines.
A lot of great lines.
Yeah.
Jino.
Yes. Hello.
Since the shipping is like half of the experience, it seems. Did you start to like feel that partway through?
Here's the thing. I get it.
Okay, yeah.
I get it. Hinata and Kageyama, there's some scenes where there's a connection. There's a very intense connection that I think could very easily translate to a very popular ship. And this extends for a lot of combinations of a lot of characters. Like, the show is ripe. There's so many opportunities for excellent ships in this show.
List them, Jino. I want to know which particular pairings jumped out to you.
All right.
I'm really curious.
Let me consult my cheat sheet. Hinata, I could see Hinata. I mean, obviously Hinata and Kageyama is that's like a clear connection. But on the cat team, Nekoma, Kenma and Hinata, I think, have a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're texting.
Well, I'm not there yet.
Oh, is that season 2? Yeah, well, they are texting.
Spoiler!
I literally told Jino earlier because he was like, they don't have phones. I was like, oh, they do have phones. And I was like, oh, it's because Hinata hasn't started texting Kenma yet.
I feel there's Suga and Daichi. I mean, there's something there, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to like parse my own little drawings of who's who.
I really like Suga.
Suga's great.
Obviously Yamaguchi and Suki, because they're always hanging out together.
Oh,
Yamaguchi's sad and Suki's like not happy to be there. Right? That's what my drawings are telling me. And you know?
Oh,
yeah, go for it.
Asahi and Nishinoya.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's clearly something. But I would also like to pitch Nishinoya and Tanaka.
Yeah, that one's a
because they have a similar like energy to them.
Wait,
and they're
who's
always
Tanaka?
Baldy.
Oh, yep.
They have a similar energy and they're always like getting into hijinks together.
That's true.
Yeah. And then Oikawa and Iwaizumi. Can't read my own handwriting there. They got a fun dynamic.
Oh, yeah.
I could go on. I could just list any combination of characters.
Who's the really tall guy from Date Tech with the white hair?
Aone.
He is Ace.
Yeah.
I'm doing a
Ace?
soul read. Nah, it's just because they don't really give you anyone else from Date Tech that much.
Oh, I thought you meant like Ace, like volleyball term.
This
No.
is a really
I was
funny
like,
story. This is a really funny story. So one time, one of my friends was talking to her sister, and she was like, "Oh, like someone has like a headcanon that like Nishinoya is Ace," and her sister was like, "But he's the libero. He can't be the ace." And my friend was like, "No, like Ace," and she's like, "Oh," so that's what I think about every time. It's like really funny. I think it's a really funny joke.
Yeah, anyway, those are my opinions.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of Kenma and Hinata. I think that really works for me.
Yeah.
I think Kageyama's got some issues. And frankly, I think Hinata's got some issues too, but I think they're exacerbated when they're near each other.
One might call it toxic codependency.
Yeah, that's it.
Oof.
Both on and off the court.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
Because it is
they grow out of
supercharged.
it. They grow out of it.
Okay,
Oh
that's
boy, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
For the sake of all the gym equipment.
That's true.
Yeah, there is a very like electric charge between them in a number of scenes.
There's some shots where it's like Hinata is looking at Kageyama and then like the sunlight comes in and I was like,
When Hinata
Oh my
grabs
gosh, guys.
Kageyama by like the lapel and then like they both like
Oh,
tumble
yeah.
into the grass together.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa!
We're going for
We're
it.
going.
There's like some shots where Kageyama is looking at Hinata like a freaking medium rare steak.
Yeah. Yeah.
whoa.
And
Yeah.
again, to reiterate, these are children, so we're not gonna like.
No.
This is all purely hypothetical.
We're engaging in the joking spirit of, the overexuberance of all the ships.
Yeah. I wouldn't say there are any like bad ships in Haikyuu. Like most of them, I'm like, okay, I could see that happening.
Well, don't
I just
speak
think,
too
I just
soon.
think
I'm
Oikawa
sure
should
there's.
stay away from most of everyone. I think Oikawa needs to take 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Oikawa is a misunderstood character.
All right, season 1 Oikawa can take 2 steps
Yeah.
back. I don't know what he's like in season 3.
I'm still fascinated by him.
No, he's such an interesting character. I think one of the funniest Oikawa stories is like
Do you have an Oikawa story?
no, I just think like like when people are like posting like top 10 like anime villains.
Hmm.
And then there's like people who are like literal murderers and then there's Oikawa. And I'm like, he's like a 17-year-old who's like full of himself. Like, come on, guys.
He's good at volleyball.
Yeah, he's good at, he just wants to play volleyball. Like, I get it.
It's all relative.
It's all relative, but sometimes I'm like, you guys like really like just dump on Oikawa. He's like not.
That was a rather bold dump.
Yeah. Also, best moment is when they're playing Seijo and Kageyama, like, there's like this moment where like all of Seijo is like, who's he gonna set to? There's like 5 spikers coming. Who's it gonna be? And then Kageyama just dumps it over the net. He's like, sup. It's a good moment.
It's
Pretty
good.
great.
Lots of good moments.
Pivoting slightly from ships, let's talk about favorite characters. But first, I want to ask you guys, who do you think my favorite characters are? I'm really curious.
Oh.
Just pull out the cheat sheet again.
Let's say
I have a little bit of
Top
privileged
3.
information
Okay.
from talking about this a little bit before. At least I think I do. Who's the blocker with the glasses who's kind of disaffected?
Suki?
Suki. Is Suki one?
you should guess, and both of you should guess, and I will tell you.
You mean I can't cheat? You mean I can't just be like, is it this one? Is it this one?
Listen, I can go off of like, there's like historical precedents here, right? Like you've always listed your favorite characters on a lot of the media we talk about. And so like, just like purely surface level, almost like a incorrect level of read, right? You're going to be like, oh, the only girl. But
There
no,
are more female characters later on.
there's like 2 in season 1.
There's 2? I thought there was 1.
Well,
No,
there's Yui Michimiya, who's another third year. She's the girls' volleyball team captain.
Oh, you're right.
She's
we
also
get like
great.
an episode of them. And
She's
their
really
whole dynamic.
great. Yeah.
Oh, and then there's a bald guy who takes his shirt off a lot. What's his name?
Tanaka.
Tanaka.
He has an older sister.
Yeah, but she comes in season 2, so Jino hasn't met her.
And there's
also
Hinata,
really
She was in
little
season
sister.
1 a little bit.
Maybe she was like briefly referenced, but they officially, I think, formally introduced her in season 2.
I'm getting it all
I might
mixed
be
up.
wrong. Yeah.
You got to give me some slack here because I'm only pulling from season 1 characters.
That's okay. All of my top 3 favorite characters are on this list.
If I had to guess, I think Nishinoya is on there. If I put Kenma on there, is that my own personal bias?
Kenma is pretty great.
Kenma's pretty great though.
I'm gonna make a judgment call and say one of them is not Kenma.
Ooh, the divide.
Okay, I'll double down on Kenma then.
Okay.
Just so there's some conflict in this episode.
Well, here's the thing. If we get to guess independently, you pick 3 and then I'll pick an independent 3.
Well, one of us will be right on
Yeah.
something, probably.
So I called Tsuki, I
Yeah.
think.
You got Suki. Did you want to call Tanaka?
No,
No, no.
no, not Tanaka.
You don't think my favorite character is loud bald guy who takes his shirt off
And regularly fawns obsessively over.
over women?
Yes.
I do support loving women.
And I don't.
That was a rather bold dump.
We have to make that a button that we can push, and then your text tone every time you get a text. Okay. I'm committing. Kenma, Nishinoya only because you said Libros are the coolest, and so that's the only information I have. And then Kageyama. Those are my 3 picks.
Oh, you took Kageyama?
I took Kageyama.
I think that's a good bet. Okay, so you said Kenma, you said Nishinoya, and Kageyama.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say, hand me your cheat sheet.
I picked the whole spectrum of personality intensity.
Yeah.
Right? Kenma's like super chill. Nishinoya's like big but confident, and then Kageyama needs therapy. So like you got the whole spectrum there.
You've got.
You're just trying to cover your bases.
Yes.
And it's less about what
I
you
need
think.
to win the game. I need to win the
what characters
podcast
you
recording.
think I like.
Gino's cheat sheet includes the names and then tiny little drawings. What are these numbers next to them?
That's their
Third
year.
Oh,
That's also important.
this is a good cheat sheet. I do sincerely hope you post this on Instagram.
Oh no.
It's a part of the episode.
I've spelled so many names wrong. My handwriting's terrible. It's formatted poorly.
It's okay.
Who's Yamaguchi again? He's the sad one
Yeah, he's sad.
because he's not good at things.
He's sad because he doesn't get enough screen time. And his hair is green.
I did like the little bit about him like trying to learn a float serve.
Yeah.
Yamaguchi's arc is so good.
Maybe it's Yamaguchi.
I need to stop talking.
You didn't pick Kyoko.
I did not pick Kyoko. I think that's too cliche.
I think
maybe
it
a
is.
little sexist.
Well, I mean, they don't give her a lot.
No, she doesn't have her character is I'm going to assist these idiots in following their dreams.
And it seems like, I mean, I can't be sure,
At
but
least
I
in season
feel like
1.
she's on her way out of the narrative because she is a third year.
That's true.
So I don't know how much more time we would have with her compared to a lot of these others. Okay, I'm gonna say Tsuki. I'm gonna say Hinata.
Yeah. Got to get the main 2.
You've got some pretty good coverage, Jino. So I'm gonna,
And Iron Wall Man.
I'm gonna say.
He's it.
Oh, this is kind of difficult. I'm gonna say Ujiwaka.
Ushiwaka.
Yeah, is that what this says.
Again, my spelling's not bad. This is pretty bad. And so's my handwriting.
No, it
How'd we
could
do?
be.
How'd we do?
I'm going to take back that. I'm going to say Hinata. I'm going to say Tsuki. And you know what? Forget it. I am going to say Kyoko. Because I like Kyoko.
How'd we
Kyoko's
do?
great.
Did I win the podcast recording? Do I win Nostalgia Club?
Michael got 2 out of 3.
No! Let's go!
Who were the two?
It's got to be Hinata and Tsuki.
Yeah.
Who's the third?
Suga.
Really? I was going to do Suga, but I thought it was my own
kept
personal
waiting. I was
bias.
like,
I didn't
Michael
get
will
a
say
single
Suga.
one right.
Okay. To be fair, Kenma is number 4.
No, this doesn't matter.
And Kageyama's 5.
No,
This
close
it doesn't
to It depends on
matter.
the day.
No, I lost. I will diminish and go into the west.
I feel so great. I just made a rather bold dump.
No, Michael,
sorry.
genuinely, like, because you've mentioned, like, Suki's, like, character arc to me, like, several times in the last few weeks that I've talked to you. And every time I have to be like, try not to say anything that will, because I wanted you guys to do this, like, guessing thing.
I knew it. He's 2 guys in a trench coat. That's why he's so tall.
Yeah.
That's why he can't make expressions.
Yeah, Tsuki is my favorite, like, number 1.
Wow.
Hinata is my number 2.
Really?
Yeah. As of, like, recently.
Okay.
In, like,
I was
recent
gonna say,
years.
if season 1 Hinata won you over,
Yeah,
I'd be...
I think my favorite characters used to be like Suga, Daichi, Kenma, obviously, and then some other characters you haven't met. But yeah, Hinata is best boy.
I can't believe I forgot Suga. What a cool guy. He's so
Suga's
happy.
great.
He has one of the...
Okay, so now we can go to actually talking about the characters. Suga is so great because he's basically what Kageyama wanted Oikawa to be for him.
Yeah.
In terms of like a mentor figure. And Suga is like the opposite of Oikawa, where not like, obviously he has his personal like insecurities about like Kageyama's here now. He's a genius setter. He's clearly better than me. He's probably going to go pro one day. And I want to like make sure he gets there, even if it means that I get less time on the court. But he doesn't discount himself despite knowing that he's at such a disadvantage. In fact, he's like, I'm still going to work hard and do what I can to like be a good setter for my team. So for him, that's like teaching the other members like hand signals, because he's like, Kageyama like has this thing he can do where he can like set with like pinpoint accuracy to like what each player wants. But Suga like can't do that. So he uses hand signals to be like, okay, so this is going to be a fast one, or this is going to be like this play or whatever. That way like the players kind of know. And that actually like becomes important because later on like Seijo like figures out the way that Hinata and Kageyama like coordinate their like quicks, and then they immediately switch to using hand signals. And then it's like, oh, all that training and preparation that Suga did, like where someone else would be like, oh, that's so like useless, like you're never gonna play on the team, like why would you do that? But he's like, no, like it's still important. He also like he's like the biggest cheerleader
Yeah.
on the sidelines, and he observes a lot from the sidelines. So in one of the later games, Kageyama basically like starts overthinking because he's playing against his old teammates, and he starts like panicking like and like not playing as well. And he gets so in his head that the coach actually pulls him. And for Kageyama, like it's a repeat of what happened in the first episode where the coach benched him because he was not coordinating with his teammates. You can see him start to spiral, and then Suga just puts a hand on his shoulder and he's like, it's not about you. We're just changing up the rhythm. And that's all that Kageyama needed to like get out of his head. And then he realizes like, oh, like when I sit on the bench, I can watch the team play and I can get a better like bird's eye view of what's going on. And I can see like everyone's condition, like the plays that like our team and the other team are doing. And he understands like being on the bench is not a sign of like weakness.
It's so good.
It's very good.
When Suga walks on, because a lot of that development that he has is sort of off screen. It happens pretty quickly in the early episodes where he realizes Kageyama's better, realizes that Kageyama should be the one in there, that the coach will put Kageyama in his place, and then accepts it.
Yeah.
And then in that same moment does exactly what you said, where he goes, I'm not going to like give up. I still want to be on the court as much as I can, but I recognize what's best for the team.
Yeah.
And when he gets on the court against their most like serious like opponent, and the entire season has been very open and mature about like, I'm not as good as Kageyama. his like experience and his like sheer confidence,
It rattles the other team.
it totally like throws them off.
Because the other team was like expecting to play Kageyama, so they like prepared to, like, they know all his stuff. Like Oikawa like watched their entire game, and like that's how he figured out like the signal that like Hinata and Kageyama do, which is just like a verbal signal where like Hinata yells like one thing and they're like, oh, we're doing that.
It's
and
it's a like one or two.
Yeah. But
Suga's hand signals are more robust and
Yeah.
varied.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really crack it on the fly so easily.
and usually like they do the hand signals behind their back too.
Yeah.
And I imagine like footage wise, like you might not even be able to see it because it's like depending on where the camera is, like it's so small, like the quality, whatever. The point is like the other team is like, we don't know what to do now. And they're like, well, he's not as good as Kageyama. He's not like a genius setter, but I love that Haikyuu like highlights that it's not about like innate talent. It's about how you work together with your teammates and like bring out the best in everyone.
Such a freaking
Yeah.
baller.
And like every setter has like a different way of like playing. Like none of them are bad. They're all good for different reasons. And it's all like dependent on what your team is. Because it's like, yeah, Kageyama can be a really good setter, but he's going to be on so many different teams in his career. If he can't adapt to other players and their play styles, he will actually be a bad setter.
Yeah.
Because the whole job of the setter is to bring out the best in your team.
Mm-hmm.
I just love Suga, and like every time he like gets put in a game, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
And he's already such a positive person that it gets kind of cranked up to 11 when he's on the court.
Yeah.
And every time they land a point on the other team, Suga basically does a round of like, good job, everyone. And they
Yeah.
all like exchange high fives.
I think it's so cute where afterwards Kageyama's like, I will try to say affirming things to my teammates, but he's like so awkward
He
about
tries
it.
to smile and he looks like a demon.
Yeah, he's like, that good serve, and they're like, he's trying.
Related to that, like the physical comedy and like the slapstick comedy in this show is peak. It's so good. Like just like the visual gags they do when
Yeah.
people get like exaggerated reactions or whatever. Incredible.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
these kids. They're my children, my sons.
So question, do either of you have this sort of experience in real life? Have either of you played volleyball or been to volleyball games? Done sports?
I once got so upset that I lost a volleyball game that I jumped up to a second story and screamed into the sky.
Wow, that's very much like Haikyuu.
Not really. The closest experience I had to it was doing like video stuff in high school. And so sometimes you go to like different sports matches to video a game for the pep rally that's coming up or something.
Watching Haikyuu was very weird for me because I did a lot of sports in high school. I was never like good at the sports I did, but I was in those environments a lot. And while
Is this
like,
why you love Kenma so much partially?
but Ken was really good. That's the thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ken was like a leader on his team. I was never really in like a leadership position unless like by default because of like seniority or whatever. But it's weird because Haikyuu like really heightens and exaggerates a lot of like the personalities and the events that happen in these sort of like sporting tournaments. But also it doesn't. Because like these things do happen and these people are real and they will go nuts
Yeah.
over like what's essentially just a ball game.
That's true.
So that was very interesting for me because I'd always experienced those things from like either a sideline perspective, a viewer perspective, or when we're playing whatever teams I was on, we never did very well. So like I was never super like, we have to win. I was more just like, we're going to do our best. And then I get to go home and have like a nice pop or whatever. Like, so it was an interesting look into the heads of like my teammates or my classmates who were on sports teams who were really, really into it and be like, oh, this is what they were going through. Which seems exhausting, but like I'm glad they had that sort of a thing. Especially because my high school had a really, really amazing volleyball team, girls volleyball team, like undefeated levels of amazing in our district or
You guys
whatever.
were the Shiratorizawa.
Yeah, there were a couple of years where they were ranked in the state like that good.
Wow.
And so like the girls volleyball games are always like huge events. Like our homecoming games were like volleyball games. They would just murder. They would destroy. And so a lot of the boys wanted to make a boys volleyball team because that's what like popular volleyball was in my school. Very small school. We did not have enough players to have a volleyball team and also a basketball team and a soccer team and all the other sports at the same time. And that's what they should have told us. But what they did tell us is that, we can't have a boys volleyball team because then it would upset like the gender balance of the teams.
Wait, what?
Because we had a girls volleyball team and then a boys and girls basketball team and then a boys soccer team.
Oh,
I
the
see.
broader balance.
But what was happening at the same time is that the boys soccer team didn't have enough players, and we had some really good female soccer players in the school, and so we were trying to recruit them. But the school wouldn't let us, even though we played co-ed teams. So our league was co-ed, but the school wouldn't let our team be co-ed.
Huh.
And so the solution to the volleyball problem was to let the soccer team be co-ed, but they wouldn't let us do that. And so it became a big thing.
Wow. Drama.
The latest in Jino's school stories.
It's not the latest. This happened like a decade ago.
Well, and
In the canon of Nostalgia Club, this is the latest.
no, it's fascinating though.
Yeah.
You had a full athletic experience, even related specifically to volleyball.
I did 1 year on varsity basketball, and I was one of those second years in Haikyuu who just kind of sat on the side and didn't do anything. That was me.
Yeah.
I did that. And then I did like 3 years of soccer. But I've also been on those teams where like we're like the best team in the state, like not in school, but like in local soccer leagues or whatever.
That's
I've been on
awesome.
those teams where we're like the best league in the state, but like I'm not the reason that's the case. I'm one of the benchers, right? And it's because we have like 2 or 3 all-star athletes who are like son of the coach or whatever who's on the team. It's because we have a Hinata and Kageyama on our team, and I'm not important enough to be on my cheat sheet, right? But like you can also see those personalities, like the need to be so good, like a Kageyama-esque, like I'm so good, everyone should like play around me. I don't need to pass the ball. And when I do pass the ball, you better be ready to pass it back to me or something like that, you know? So it was very enlightening to watch Haikyuu because it's based on like the mangaka's real experiences in high school, right?
Yes, the author was a member of a volleyball club during middle and high school and often found himself going to school just to participate in club activities despite performing below average in classes. So like very much like I'm going to school because of sports,
Yeah,
not because of anything else.
it's real. These people exist.
They have to.
I knew people in high school who would react like Hinata reacted when they lost the game. Running, screaming, slamming into walls, going nuts.
Gosh. I mean,
It's embarrassing.
I don't want to I don't want to sound too much like I think it's unbelievable or like ridiculous, because no matter who you are, especially if you're doing something that physical, you're going to have all kinds of endorphins going through you at that point.
It's the physicality, but it's also like you put so much of yourself into the game.
Yeah.
Like not just time, but like this is like a big part of your personality. This is how people perceive you at school. Like you're on the basketball team, like you're cool. You're like, that's your status. And then you do really poorly in an important game, and that's your status like crumbling around you or something.
Yeah. That's why, again, like I feel it is so important that like the author didn't set out to write Haikyuu as like they win everything. It's very much like here's an exploration of like what is it like to play volleyball, the ups and the downs and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's so great. That's just so great.
so inspirational. Why is sports anime so inspirational?
I couldn't tell you. This is the only one
Why
I've
are
watched.
sports inspirational? Why
That's
do people
true,
watch
yeah.
sports?
True, although I don't know. I've seen, and great thanks to my dad's influence, plenty of movies about golf and underdog golfers. And I suppose you'll get this more with any kind of sports movie. But a lot of sports movies, especially ones about underdogs, involve their rise to greatness.
Yeah.
And, you know, even if there's the inevitable, like, end of Act 2 setback or whatever, it is still very much a focus on the success of the thing. And especially if it's something like golf, it's like you're out, it's you.
Yeah.
But there's also like, you know, famous examples like Rocky. He doesn't win the boxing match or whatever at the end.
Yeah.
But it's about the fact that he got there and he tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
he gave it his all.
He gave it his I went the distance.
Yeah.
And like that's got to be one of the reasons Rocky has stood the test of time. And it's got to be one of the reasons that Haikyuu is so friggin' successful.
And it's so hype.
It's so
when
hype.
when they do the spike or whatever and
The quick.
the quick
The godlike quick.
the godlike
Yeah.
quick when you see over the net into that tall court.
I do think it's funny because after having watched like so many seasons of Haikyuu and going back to season 1, I'm like, oh yeah, they weren't very good at volleyball back then. They get better at volleyball. But it's like cool that you can actually like see like the character growth and progression, not only like emotionally, but in their actual skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch the second season. I want to see them go to the spring tournament. I want to see them do good.
Yeah.
Is that going to be another episode of Nostalgia Club?
Yeah, I'll do another. I will talk about Haikyuu all day, guys.
Let's do it. Let's commit to this right now.
I have had a good enough time that if we wanted to make this a thing, I could keep going.
I just really want you guys to get to season 3 at least.
And then season 4.
And then season 4.
And then the movie.
And then the movie.
And then the next movie then when it comes out.
And then we read the manga. So we make sure we don't miss anything.
I don't know if I'll enjoy the manga as much. Because part of it's like you get to watch a game, not in real time, but like, you know, it's like watching a real volleyball game, except the commentators are really good because they get into the players' heads.
Yeah.
Maybe someday in a sci-fi future.
Oh my gosh.
That'd be
Also,
trippy.
Total side tangent, but it's also really interesting to watch volleyball from a Japanese like cultural perspective because it's almost like American high school volleyball, but not quite. Not like the rule. I don't know the rules well enough to compare rules, but like just in the way like
The lack of hamburgers really threw me.
the lack of bald eagles flying over the stage. No, just the way like teams react when they score a point, or like the things they say, the things they chant.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of it's like in Haikyuu is like English, like Japaneseified or whatever. I don't know what the term is for that.
I think it's just English.
Yeah, they're saying English terms, but they're not the same English terms that like my American volleyball teams would say.
Yeah.
So like I'm not sure where they came from, but there must have been some sort of translation there.
Like the call-outs. Like I haven't been to many volleyball matches, so I don't know if American volleyballers say nice kill or chance ball.
I don't remember hearing any of those terms, but they would say everyone would yell like ace whenever an ace would happen, but they didn't do that in Haikyuu. Yeah, it's just slightly
That
different.
is interesting. Yeah, because I've never played volleyball, so I wouldn't know.
Did they have, because in the show, every team has a banner with like a slogan.
I didn't go to, my
Big
school wasn't
enough
that
tournaments?
coordinated.
Oh.
Part of like the like Haikyuu tournament culture is like a lot of the schools send like a cheer squad basically that's usually made up of like other classmates or teachers and like parents and like community members who go and they have a big banner that has the team's slogan. Every team has a slogan, and then they also they have their coordinated chants, which I also
The chants are like,
The chants are scary.
they're
chants-
great.
Yeah, this actually comes into play in like season 2 where like Krasno realizes like we don't have like a cheer squad. It's like really intimidating if you're like playing a team and they have like a full like bleacher stand of people chanting the
From
name of the
experience,
team.
it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So that becomes like kind of a plot point of like then their community. I love how like Haikyuu is so community oriented. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I also wanted to say like the fact that like the local like volleyball association comes to like help coach them and like play games with them is also really nice, and they like are recurring characters. But what I was gonna say is I noticed in this rewatch, maybe because I was like wearing like earbuds, so I noticed it more, but like the dedication to the walla is insane. It's always
incredible.
present.
The sound design is so good.
Yeah.
Kind of blows my mind a few times. I'm like, whoa.
And like the foot squeaks and the ball
Yeah,
baps
like-
and the...
Even when the crowd is not in focus, obviously like when they're in focus, like they're louder, but when they're not, like they're always at least blanketed in the background.
Yeah.
At some point it becomes almost like white noise because you're just used to it, but I started like paying attention to it more, and I was like, yeah, they're like always chanting.
It's like
they're
you're in the stadium.
Yeah, like it literally puts you in the stadium on the court with the players. And hearing that in the theater was very intense.
Oh,
wow.
We have to catch up so we can watch the next Haikyuu movie in the theater.
Yes.
Whoa.
Except
That should be...
you're going to see me cry, so I don't know about that.
Gino,
Now
we
we
have to
really
get to the theater.
I'm going to cry buckets, guys.
We'll bring buckets to cater to Victoria's needs, and then we'll watch it in the theater.
When I went to see the most recent movie, like almost immediately after it started, I almost started crying.
No, listen, hey, if I get this into a show
Yeah.
and I go see it in the theater, I'll probably cry. I cried during Endgame. I'll admit that. I don't remember what part I cried in.
Was it the part where Ant-Man crawled up Thanos' ass?
Yes, but that was sympathy. That was out of sympathy. No, it was the ending credit tributes. When they did the Tony Stark ending credit tribute, and you can hear the hammer in the background, I was like, he's never going to be in the MCU. Oh, wait, never mind.
I almost want to be like, when you guys get to the movie, I want to rewatch it with you guys.
Yeah, let's do
That'd be
it.
fun.
I watched it in theaters and I was like, kind of want to get another ticket and watch it again. I just want to get all the details.
What if we watch the movie right now, but we didn't have any context? So we're like, what's going on? And then we go back and we're like, oh.
Why is Kageyama missing an eye?
They're playing in a blasted wasteland hellscape? A post-apocalyptic
Hinata's
nuclear
half
wasteland?
robot?
They're using magic? What happened?
That would be crazy.
Glad to see Suga's still there. And he looks exactly the same. That's Suga's clone? And Goku's here.
If you were your own volleyball team, what would be the slogan on the sign that your cheer squad would have written out?
Ooh.
Now, I could be self-deprecating here, but I'm not going to do that because that's too easy. Is this like, what do I think, me personally, or is this like my aspirational?
I would say, because Date Tech's slogan is like Iron Wall, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So I would say there's like a little bit of PR going on.
It's usually like what they're like best known for.
Like what's your sort of selling point?
Like voice cut real fast.
Nekoma's is connect because they're really good at defending and like picking up the ball and like connecting it to their teammates. Let's see, I'm looking up team mottos.
As Karasuno's
Karasuno's is fly.
fly.
That sign is so beautiful.
That's a cool sign.
It's so beautiful.
Any sports team that has black in their color, immediately like so jealous. Like I've had that a couple times and it immediately makes your team like 10 times better.
Yeah, my high school colors were black and gold, so that was pretty good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When your high school colors are like neon purple and green, you're like, oh boy, this is going to be hard to market.
I can't believe I forgot to mention my high school colors were orange and black.
Oh,
You were Karasuno.
We were Karasuno.
that's cool.
Wow.
My high school colors were green and white, which isn't like super interesting, but we were the Wildcats. And High School
Oh,
Musical was
interesting.
big. So like we could play High School Musical songs during
That's
our
funny.
like pep rallies and it would make sense.
Nice.
Nice.
My favorite team color scheme is Albajosai. I think they're like
Is that like
white
and,
and
light
like
blue?
light turquoise-ish blue.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is
It's
really
very
nice.
interesting.
Yeah. I also noticed on this watch, like, the contrast between, like, Karasuno and Albajosai is, like, they're, like, so coordinated. Like, all their jackets and their bags and their shoes and, like, everything is all coordinated. Karasuno, like, obviously they have matching uniforms, but their bags are all different. They all have different shoes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Like, it's such a, like, a minute detail, but it just shows, like, the contrast in, like, obviously, like, resources, but it's also, like, Seijo's, like, the really, like, polished, like, elite team, and then Karasuno's, like, young and scrappy, you know?
There's a lot of detail
Yeah.
on those sneakers.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I have that pair. Are those Asics?
Yeah.
It's always interesting to see a team, especially when you're like in high school sports, where all the players look similar because you know that school's doing well.
Yeah.
Because you can pick the players with the body types that are best suited for the sport.
Ooh, yeah.
My team, whoa, it was, we were all a mess. Well, we were a mess, but we did
I
our
think
best.
okay, sorry, going back to Michael's question, I think my slogan would probably have something to do with like passion or like don't give up or like something like that. Feels like generic, but like, yeah.
Mine's probably something like,
I mean, some of
Still
them
here.
are just like single words. Like one of them is like effort.
effort.
Well, if you're like still here, then persevere.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Strive.
Strive.
What would yours
what
be,
about,
Michael?
what about learning? Like, as in learning the rules of volleyball.
Growth.
Doing our
ascend.
best.
Doing our best.
What would yours be, Michael?
Mine would be nice dump.
I can't. If I was on a sports team and we went to like someone like on an away game and they had massive posters up that just said "nice dump" and 100 parents and siblings yelling "nice dump," I would leave. You can't perform in an environment like that. How are you gonna score a free kick and you have 100 voices yelling "nice dump" at you? Like, what does that do to your psyche?
Okay, to be fair, like the slogans they shout are usually like the name of the school.
So, like, the village dump or whatever?
Like, for example, like Date Text is like, go, let's go, Date Ko. And I have that just like in my brain at all times, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Isn't the Nekoma versus Karasuno, like, battle at the garbage dump or something?
Yeah.
So if you just shorten that, it just becomes at the dump or battle dump or just dump.
Battle dump is
Battle dump.
Yeah. Sorry, I was
battle garbage.
I was just
5 years
thinking.
old.
Yeah.
Victoria's like, yeah, you guys are.
It's okay. I've accepted it.
Victoria's like, I reached out my hand in friendship and you spat in my face.
No.
And you
No.
And you dumped. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I was actually interested. Half of me was like, I'm gonna get him, but another part of me was interested in what your slogan would be.
Wait, so those all for the bit?
No. I thought of the bit, and then concurrently, I was like thinking, what would mine be? And I was like, I got a great follow-up joke.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
As for my actual one, I don't know. I regret asking the question now because this is hard.
No, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
I mean, it's not just you. It's like your team, and every team like has like different.
Yeah.
It honestly is more dependent on like the coaching style too.
Yeah.
Like the coach's style of like, what do I think is important? Like Nekoma is known for their defense, but then like Albo Josai is known for their offense, and then Dateko is known for their defense, but like in the like blocking sense, not just like Nekoma's incredible defense skills.
Well, then maybe I change the question then. What position on the court would you find yourself most suited to?
That's a good question.
Whatever position. Daichi's on.
Daichi's the captain.
No, but not the
he's
captain.
a wing spiker?
But he's like, they place him in defensive positions. I'm not fast enough to be a libero, but whenever
I would like to see Jino as a team captain.
but whenever I played team sports, I'd always be placed in like a commanding defensive position.
Oh, he's an outside hitter.
Whatever that is. That's what I would be. Like in soccer, I was center defender or something.
Okay.
Or sometimes like back midfielder. Because I was fast and strong enough to like take and clear balls, but not agile or like coordinated enough to like attack. So, and also I was slightly taller than most people, which should tell you something about how short my team was. We had a lot of middle schoolers on our high school team. Because again, we didn't have enough players. So we had to recruit from the middle school.
Interesting.
Because recruiting girls from the high school doesn't make any sense, apparently. Still mad about that.
Silly. I would be... It's hard to imagine myself playing sports. I did play sports in high school is the thing. Not in high school, in middle school. I played basketball for like one season.
What position were you in basketball?
Yeah.
I played very little. I don't even know like a
So
forward?
so there's it's like sort of like a pentagon, right? You have like your center, right?
Yeah.
Who handles the ball most, and then you have the two people near the back, near the board, who are mostly like receiving or blocking, and then the two people kind of
I
in
was
the middle.
usually like a I would block.
So then you would be pick a defensive position.
But I'm not tall enough to be like Tsuki and be a blocker. I guess I would be like Hinata levels of like middle blocking, but I have to jump all the time.
It is a jumpy sport.
Yeah. The answer is I would not play volleyball.
Boo.
I'm just kidding. Okay.
Would you be would you be the team's manager?
Probably.
I would be the teacher that signed off on the club.
You would be Takeda. I guess I could conceivably potentially be like a setter.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I'd probably be something similar to Jino. I did play like a little bit of like extracurricular, like not school related basketball. Didn't have the coordination for offense, but I could be annoying on defense to whoever was trying to do something. So, you know.
Defense.
In sports, that means get in their way
True.
and remove ball. Volleyball's so cool. I always thought volleyball was cool, but this
It
gave me
is
a
really
fresh,
cool.
new perspective.
I really
of
enjoy watching
appreciation.
volleyball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is nice segueing with the Summer Olympics now as it is.
I think at one point my high school did like a casual volleyball tournament day where like a bunch of people could just sign up and like play volleyball.
Wow.
And I volunteered to be like a scoreboard person.
Nice.
So I just got to sit there and like watch people play volleyball, and I would like turn the numbers whenever they made points. And I was like, neat. I was deep in my Haikyuu phase then, so it was really fun for me.
Man, I kind of want to play volleyball now, even though I know logically if I jump like 5 times, I'll collapse into a pile of bones. But I can dream, you know?
Yeah.
You can dream. I unfortunately tried bumping a volleyball, like, you know, with
really
the arms out.
hurts.
It hurts like the dickens.
Yeah. Actually, like, that's my primary reason for never getting into volleyball was, like, I just think bumping the ball hurts a lot. Like, I was like, setting is fine. I could maybe, like, spike it if I, like, jump high enough or, like, get the rhythm. But, like, bumping is, like, really...
scary, too, because that thing's coming at you fast.
Yeah.
I don't know. Their arms are, like, steel.
Yeah.
In Haikyuu, they do a lot of, like, diving drills where they, like, literally, like, dive onto the ground.
Wild.
And I'm like...
It's like you're breaking your body.
Yeah, like I would get like so many like what is it like? It's not like a rug burn, but like a wood burn.
Friction burn?
Yeah, friction burn. Like when you're like, oh, no, I would get injured.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's some special way of doing it where, you know, it's like, oh, if you do it correctly, it doesn't have.
Yeah. Which is why I guess they practice it, but
Still,
I would not
though,
enjoy that.
What a demanding sport.
Yeah. Any last thoughts before we wrap up this first season 1 Haikyuu episode?
Do we get more of the girls' volleyball team?
We get a little bit.
But it's mostly like a Karasuno
Yeah.
show?
I think like once like they go, because like the girls don't make it as far into the tournament as they do. So like there's less opportunity. I think like they do show up to like watch some of the games sometimes.
Because I really liked how Hinata, like in order to practice volleyball in middle school, like would practice with literally anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a cool like character moment for me.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be neat,
Yeah.
like a co-ed practice or something.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about the coach himself that much, but
Oh,
I really
yeah.
like this sort of, he fits very well with Karasuno's vibe as sort of this scrappy underdog team, as just this convenience store clerk with a history in volleyball. And
Yeah.
he always getting back in the game, but now from the coaching perspective.
And his arc is about like getting back into the sport that he really loved, but like wasn't able to like continue after high school. And then now it's like he gets to like come back. And I also like, I saw someone post one time, they were like, I hate Takeda Sensei. I skip all of the scenes that he's in. And I'm like, he's literally the MVP.
Yeah.
Like, Karasuno would not have made its comeback without him, like, tirelessly calling other schools to, like, bring back these, like, relationships between schools to, like, get them to training camps and, like, get them practice games and, like, literally bug Coach Ukai until he, like, was willing to like come coach like one match, and then finally he's like, I'm in it. Coach Ukai is us watching Haikyuu and being like, I guess I'll like give this a try, and then he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm locked in.
It's sort of true that like when he decided he was in it, that's when I decided I was in it, because it was like post the Nekoma battle
Yeah.
where there was like, all right, that was the one game, and I was like, no, wait,
Yeah.
another game?
It really is a nice thing at the end of the season, both moments after they lose and they buy the team a meal and they all just kind of sit in their feelings and cry into their soup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the moment where, you know, the tournament's over and Coach Ukai he's given the team the day off, but he just kind of gets a feeling and he's like, nah, I'm just going to roll by the gym.
And they're all there.
And they're all there. And he's sort of taken aback by it. And
Yeah, he's like, these kids, they love doing it.
Part
They
of
love
it is
doing
like
the sport.
escapism about being good at sports, but part of it is escapism about being so passionate about something that it like drives you forward.
Yeah.
And everyone being like on that same page.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with a
yeah.
group of people. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're all cringe together.
Yeah.
Final question. Which Haikyuu character are you most like of the characters you've met?
Okay. There's who I think I am, and then there's who I aspire to be,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I mean, I aspire to be Suga.
Don't we all?
Isn't that amazing in a show like this? I feel like everyone does. And
He's
yet,
not like the best, but he's like an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And he's so good at what he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be the best.
Yeah.
And he's so happy. Gosh, to be so happy. I think a part of me sees myself in Asahi?
Asahi?
Ponytail guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of see that. Jino is, after all, like 6'7" and buff is all
That's
hell.
what I see. That's what I picture myself as.
Did you guys watch the dub or the sub?
I tried to find the dubbed and I couldn't find it.
Oh, okay.
Only because I wanted to do the dishes while I watched.
Yeah, that's so fair.
But I'm actually really glad I could only find the sub because I didn't want to. I ended up not wanting to miss a second of like watching the volleyball,
Yeah.
which I would have missed a ton of it if I had been doing it like washing dishes or something. So I'm glad I was forced to. Like,
I was
pay
just
attention.
reminded because apparently in the dub, like there's a moment. I think it's when they like first arrive at the tournament and like everyone's like, oh, like who's on Krasno's team? Like there's that really like tall guy who looks like really old. But apparently in the dub, someone straight up is like, that's a grown-ass man.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Anyways, I could see it.
Not like in game sense wise, not in like his position or anything.
Yeah,
just like
in personality
wise.
Yeah.
There's a great humility to Asahi that Jino embodies. Like, too much humility. Which is different than self-deprecation.
I think also part of it is that like growing up, I had a very like aggressive resting face. So people would think I would be mad at them
I see.
when I'm really just vibing.
Yeah.
Which like people like when I went to like a summer camp or something, people wouldn't approach me because they thought I was just like an asshole. But really, I was just hungry or thinking about like clouds or something. And only like later in high school that people would be like, oh yeah, like when I first met you, I thought you hated me. I'm like, no, I was just sitting there. And they're like, no, but your face is really bad. And I'd be like, oh
my gosh.
And then I tried to smile more.
Like Kageyama.
Yeah.
I think I'm Aone, Iron Wall man, whose personality trait is tall block, who looks goofy as hell in a wide shot. Close up, he's like, oh, he's so intimidating. But then in a wide shot, is like shorts, and it's like trying to draw him from far away. You get like this weird, like, I'm trying to draw like a human leg, and here's a circle for the knee.
Yeah.
And he's like, Hur.
He's so square.
I don't know. I'm not sure I feel quite like any of these boys.
I think if I had to pick someone, I'd honestly pick Suga.
Really?
Because like Suga is like calm, deliberate, and like knowledgeable. And I think you check all those boxes. But he's also not like serious.
Yeah, like he's like a jokester too.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. But I also think Suga still is better than me.
Suga's better than all of us.
Yeah, but I think like you are pretty close to his personality. I think like just the way that he like cares about his teammates is similar to like how you care for like your friends.
Aww,
So
thanks.
yeah.
I think I'm probably, if you composited Suga with someone a little stupider. And a little more unhinged.
Any of them.
So any of them. Like Tanaka.
I started watching season 2 yesterday, and I was just like, oh my gosh, Kageyama and Hinata are just so dumb. They're just so stupid. And the two of them, like, their stupidness, like, grows exponentially when they're around each other.
When you put them together, they're stupid faster.
But I love them. It's fine.
And I would aspire to be a less disaffected Coach Ukai.
I think the list is going to make you, like, worse at remembering who they are.
I just love the drawings.
Well, this is probably something Victoria already knows, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Knows what?
Who
Which
you
character
are.
I am?
Yeah.
Tag yourself.
Oh, actually, I had to think a lot about it.
You know what? Before you arrive at a conclusion, I just want to say I was like thinking about this like for each of you as I was watching, because I was like, this is going to come up. It's gotta. And when Kyoko, who's like a very competent manager and like on her got super nervous talking to the crowd, like giving a speech, I was like, heh. There's a little bit.
That was high school Victoria.
Yeah,
Middle
exactly.
school and high school Victoria.
But now...
Post-college
think,
Victoria is like Nishino.
Yeah, you know me. I would say probably Daichi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the team captain, so he's usually the one who's like telling people to like be serious.
Very level-headed.
Yeah.
With like a strong sense of just sort of what's got to be done
Yeah.
in the moment. And like,
Practical, I feel like Daichi would have a good sense of justice, too.
Mm.
I can definitely see that. Also, because whenever Victoria gets angry, everyone gets afraid.
Have you ever seen me angry?
We've seen you, like, frustrated or angry at other people. It's never been directed at us. I feel like if it was ever directed at us,
Actually,
I'd
A
run.
lot of people have said that I'm scary when I'm angry, so...
I feel like
guess.
you do a really great job of holding back any sort of, like, real anger when you're, like, around us.
Yeah.
But I'm sure
when it gets released, it's like a laser beam.
I do have like a relatively short temper, actually.
which I feel like people you work with would not
Yeah.
pick that up.
Yeah. No, I think like I tend to take leadership roles also, so Daichi. I think I could also be a little bit of no, never mind.
What were you going to say, though?
I was gonna say maybe a little bit of Kenma, and then I was like, no, not really.
Maybe
Like this
bit of
mid-
Kenma.
You care too much to
Yeah,
be
I was like,
Kenma.
I
You
care
do
too
care
much.
too much. But you are also small. But in that sense, you're closer to Hinata because Hinata cares.
Yeah.
And you care.
I get anxious like Hinata too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
The number of stomach aches Hinata had really concerns me.
I get it.
I think I'm more concerned about the amount of time we spent on them.
Yeah.
A lot of bathroom breaks.
A lot of bathroom breaks in
My
those first few
friend
episodes.
and I like to either play like drinking games or like play bingo when we watch Haikyuu.
Nice.
And
That sounds like a great time.
Like one of them is literally like Hinata has a bathroom showdown. 'Cause he has so many like what is it called? Interactions with like opposing team members in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. I was like, something's left on the table in my mind when it comes to the characters you picked. I said humility, maybe too much humility, and we were like, oh, you're very on top of things, but also...
You just pointed, but no one's gonna know who you're pointing at.
It
Sorry.
doesn't matter. Figure it out, listener. For Jino, I said too much humility, maybe too much humility, like Asahi for Victoria, very on top of it, takes leadership roles like Daichi, but just a little added layer. Personal experience, I'm like, whenever I saw like Daichi on screen, like with the characters or like involved in something, I'm like, okay, things are going to be okay. And that's like the vibe of Victoria on a project is like, things are going to be okay.
Wow.
And with Jino, Asahi is extremely good at and this sort of segues with the humility thing where he's like, you know. But Jino, much the same, is really good. I've said curse words. Those are going to be meowed out. Jino is really good at the stuff that he does. And he's very humble in general. But like specifically with the things that he's good at, he's very like, well, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you.
I was like, there's something else. This is it.
Well, thank you for listening to this very long episode of Haikyuu.
It deserves to be.
Yeah. I hope if you haven't watched Haikyuu, go watch it. I don't know why you're still here because it must have been a confusing thing to listen to. But go watch it. Or if you have watched Haikyuu, go rewatch it. It's still really good. Thank you so much for listening to our Haikyuu episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a comment or a rating. We really love reading your comments, and ratings really help us out. You can also send us an email at nostalgiaclubpodcast@gmail.com with suggestions or comments for what we should cover next, or you can follow us on Instagram at nostalgiaclubpodcast. Until next time, go, let's go, Date go. You have to do it back.
Go,
let's go,
Date
Go,
go.
let's go, Date go.
Go, let's go, Date go.
Woo!
Ah! And now, Michael, say the catchphrase.
Nice dump.
Like the Wii Sports announcer.
Nice dump.
Nice dump.
Bold dump.